and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Terrebonne?
Here.
Mrs. DeSalt?
Here.
Ms. Schwartz?
Here.
Mr. Runge? Mr. Downey? And Chairman Zimmerman.
Here. Thank you. Let's see if I can find my pen here. There we go. First item on the agenda this morning is the approval of our September 18th meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections necessary to the minutes? I see a head shaking yes.
I want to correct on page 3, and I know I said it where it says Ms. Schwartz said that Ms. Haynes mentioned about tying the 20th Avenue in. Didn't I say that? She
I
wasn't.
can verify it.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
because
true.
she wasn't here at the meeting, and I
Yeah.
just said that was the project that we had just worked on, and I wondered if we could include it as a recent finished project.
Yes.
Thank you, because I looked at that.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Same
yeah,
thing.
she couldn't have said that because she wasn't here.
No, not at that meeting. It was
Telepathically.
I will check it out.
And I had said the project that you were working on.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty good. I could just
Right.
stay in my office and just send you psychic messages, right?
Yeah, that'll be great.
Okay, whoops.
All right. So we have one correction to the minutes. Are there any others? If not, the chair would entertain a motion for approval.
Make that motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. The minutes are approved with correction unanimously. Unanimously. Audience participation. We have an absent audience this morning, so we will move into the area of old business. I guess Craig, or not Craig, but
Chris.
Chris knew he wasn't going to be here, so
Oh.
he sent in a memo in his absence.
He sent that right after the other meeting.
Oh, did he?
I didn't hear that
Oh.
he was not going to be here.
Oh, okay. I just made an assumption. We're on the subject of the Beautification weekend, and we left our last meeting with the thought that each of us would try and add items that could create awareness of the upcoming event, and they could be included in a project list. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
To add to those that are already included in the minutes, which are some of the things that we discussed during last month's meeting. So, who wants to start with their list of suggestions?
Well, since I got the homework, but I wasn't at the meeting,
That's right.
and I can't claim my dog ate it, so I have spoken to my daughter, who is Vice President of Marketing and Branding for a company in West Palm, and she has generously offered to work with me and the commission with any advertising, drafting it, website stuff, anything. And one of the things that I saw when I was reading the minutes of last month's meeting was that I believe it was Ms. Schwartz that made the recommendation that we give some ideas to people as to what we're really looking for. I think that was from you.
I mentioned about the mailboxes.
Carl said, well, we don't want to define it. And I think both of those things are true.
We didn't want it. My point was not really defined. We didn't want to limit it.
Correct.
In other words, some suggestions I think are fine as long as it's followed by some kind of statement that says this is not an inclusive list.
Right.
It's some ideas to get you thinking about what you might do.
One of the things my daughter suggested was a flyer or some type of advertising with pictures rather than words. In other words, raking, planting. There's ways of doing it in pictures that people are quicker to see than to read the words, to draw something, to draw it to their attention, and then give them an idea of what we're talking about, but a non-inclusive list. And I thought it was a really, really good idea. And I just don't know how or what we can do as a commission without proper authority to put out flyers or something of that nature.
I guess my question or comment would be, it's very difficult to distribute flyers.
I realize that.
We used to have a method because there used to be a newsletter that went out with all the electric bills, but that has been discontinued,
Sure.
so we don't have that method anymore. And realistically, some people you'll see, sometimes you'll go to a shopping mall or shopping center and you'll find people putting stuff under your windshield. That is really illegal. You don't have any right to do that, and that's considered littering. So we don't want to get ourselves in that situation, especially when we're truly an arm of the city.
Correct.
So, I think the idea is great. If you come up with a way of trying to distribute them, that's fine. But
Do
at
we
this
have
point,
a website?
we have a
City
website.
does.
Yeah, we do.
The city has a website,
That's
but the commission does not.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
We have a section on the website.
Okay. And we are not permitted under the charter to have our own website? Is it prohibited?
I think the problem is the city maintains the website. It's their website. I really don't know the answer to that. I would think
I would
the city,
think the control of content is so important.
Yeah, I
that,
think
that,
the city would discourage us from having our own website, and to say that if we wanted that avenue, that we ought to consider, enlarging whatever is on the city website.
I don't have any problem with that. I guess I would like to know if we have a section on the city's website, what kind of hits are we getting on that?
I think that's a very good question.
Because that's, to me, that would be the logical place to do so much of this advertising of what we're planning on doing, but we're only going to be successful in reaching people if we aren't getting the appropriate number of hits that we need now of doing something outside of the website to get them to look at the website.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want to prejudge the hit history of the website, but my guess would be, and Madam Clerk, please address this if you have any real pertinent data. I think the only people who go to the website, if they want to take a look at what the agenda for city council meeting is, or for PP&Z meeting, or things of that sort, because the agendas are published.
Right.
And-
Now,
and they
what
have
do
a
we
chance.
publish?
The only thing we have is some information about the tree commission, about the tree recognition program that the city has, and then we have put stuff on.
Yeah, the
Dedication program.
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
have the tree education. The tree commission sits. I think the application sits in the public works folder. So you're going on to departments, you're going on to public works, and then you got the tree dedication program that gives the outline of the program. It has the application, it has the specifications, and I think there's one more page.
well, there's something about the outstanding tree.
And then
Remember by category?
That's
on there with pictures.
But that is it for the tree commission. Like you said, there's a little bit of history and such. And I because I'm the one that always gets the interaction with the public on the tree dedication applications. Sometimes they'll go onto the website and download it, but more often I'm emailing it or sending it in the mail, to whoever asks.
So
I would say that it's probably not a real huge thing, because it's not like there's a front page, homepage link.
and that's
you
what
have to,
right.
go
So
down.
so that in order to get to us,
Yes.
even though we have our own section, you have to,
Yeah, they have
to
to dig
excuse the
down to
expression, go by way of Gibraltar
Right.
to get there, and
Yeah,
that
I-
doesn't make sense.
Well, I really wonder, aren't we better off using established information sources like the Cultural Council website, their ad in the newspaper, which they pay for, which lists all the upcoming events and a description of them.
Right.
32963, both the print edition and their website, TC Palm, their website, and information, and the listing of activities that are free that we have an opportunity to place a listing on.
Well, I would agree with that, but the whole purpose of this weekend, as I understood it, was not only the beautification, but to draw attention to the fact that this is a tree city, and we have a commission that is working very hard to do that, to get interest in what we're doing. And
Well-
now, if I've misunderstood the purpose, perhaps that may be why I'm going off in a different direction.
I think that might be secondary. I think our whole approach here is to try and focus on the beautification weekend.
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
but anybody could do a beautification weekend. We're the tree commission.
I understand that, but this is a city-sanctioned event, and as you probably read in the minutes, there's an opportunity if they have extra trash that's generated as a result of this, that there'll be a special pickup. And remember, we always have to remember this, limited to the city of Vero Beach limits. So we have to be careful about making that very clear. Otherwise, I can see the letter to the editor 3 weeks afterwards from the county resident who went out, trimmed all of his palms, took down a bunch of dead trees, piled everything at his front of his house,
Yep.
and waited for the pickup, and it never came. And so 2 weeks later, he gets angry and he writes a letter to the editor saying, some big deal that was. I've got a yard full of, you know what I'm saying.
And
we have to be very careful.
who would pick up that county gentleman's trash?
If he has an agreement with the franchise holder who picks up and he pays a fee, they'll pick it up. Otherwise, nobody.
So, isn't there any possibility that we could at least approach the people that do that for the county and say, "Do you want to be part of it?" Are we permitted to do that?
No,
Okay.
The city council, I'm sure, when I made my presentation, it was, within the city and that this is a
Yeah.
city
Okay.
program.
Yeah.
And it
Kind of
really
understood.
complicates matters, but, you
And if I can interject, I think that trying to do what you're talking about, the franchisees for the county, those are for-profit businesses. I don't know that
Right.
you could ask them to do something free because that's
I wasn't going to ask them to do anything. I was going to suggest that we alert them to that this is what we're doing within the city of Vero Beach.
But there's no mandatory requirement that they have a trash hauler. The county.
No, I
ordinance-
understand. I understand.
So there are
that.
people
right. Some
who
people
don't.
don't pay.
No,
exactly.
I understand that
Yeah.
that people go to the dump because, in
Yeah.
fact, there are some people that just go to the dump every day. I
They go to the
find that
transfer
absolutely
stations, yeah.
amazing that
Yeah,
you would
I
want to
know.
go to the dump every day, but they do. Okay,
It's a social event.
I guess
Maybe they go for cocktail hour.
I've never been to the dump, so I really don't know.
Well, the dump you don't want to go to. The transfer stations are a lot more convenient.
Whatever.
And I was wondering, and we'd have to, of course, find out what the limitations of the homepage are, but just for advertisement, you may be able to do a little side column blurb on the homepage of the website.
That's what I
that,
was-
you know,
Yes.
like
City
we
site?
have
I was
the
just gonna say.
cemetery has a little
Recreation.
columbarium,
Yeah.
and recreation does
Yeah.
upcoming events.
And,
so-
and I think that's fine. That's
Right.
That's one of the
what-
things we talked about.
And then
I
you-
think it's on the list already. to
Right, and
put
then whatever-
something on the webpage.
brochure explanation that you come up with, you click on that, and that's what you link to.
Yeah.
I think we'd want to try to get as much media and as much awareness as possible. And in the past, we've done press releases for issues that
Right.
and then we could distribute those to all the different media, local media.
And we've
outlets
got
of
radio
television.
and we've got TV and we have a sequencing, because what we talked about last time is to make a preliminary announcement.
Yeah.
Maybe the appropriate time to do that would be in November, when we have a higher head count of people in the area. That's an introductory, and then maybe a month later there's a follow-up, and then another one maybe in January, and then, you know, just before the event, a couple of weeks before the
A
announcement.
bigger one, yeah.
So
What about if, I think in the past in the distribute of the utility bills, there's been a little small piece of paper put in,
it's not in
Can't
there
do that
anymore.
anymore.
but
That's what
is
I
there
was
any
just
way
gonna
that
ask.
we could do something like
Yeah.
that? It couldn't possibly cost too much money to put just a little
flyer.
piece of paper in each.
See, I was going to say that when we don't have the newsletter any longer, could we do a flyer and put it in with the
I mean, not
electric
necessarily even a
bills?
flyer, but just a little piece of paper
Right.
that's not going to add any weight to
Remember,
the
save the date.
Yeah.
Get
In
your rate.
green or whatever.
that would
since we're the-
directly get
yeah.
to the consumer or to the
To all the
residents.
city
Well,
residents.
you've got two considerations. I don't know. I assume the city has a vendor that prepares those bills, or at least stuffs them and mails them. I don't think the utility department does that personally, but I don't really know that. Secondly, are they capable of making a determination between a city resident and a county resident
Right.
who's in the franchise zone?
That's a
And
good
that
question.
makes-
I don't know.
that
the answer.
Because if you
confuses
did them to
things.
all the utility customers, you're
That's
going
right.
outside the city.
Yeah, well, there's more outside than there are inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
60%.
So that means you got to do it by hand. And if it's not done by hand, if it's done by a machine, you're going to be paying for that.
Yes.
I was just thinking that's a
Even if you
direct-
try zip codes, that won't do it.
No.
Because
'Cause
the
there's-
zip codes don't break down.
They don't- they don't stop at the-
32964 covers the whole Barrier Island.
But
Well,
flyers, as you
I-
indicated, a great
I'm-
idea.
I'm an insert that says that this is what we are planning for the weekend, without saying anybody's going to pick up, if they live in the city, your extra debris.
Yeah, but
Just
this
the
doesn't
annou-
apply. We can't as a city tree commission and as a city sanctioned project be encouraging people in the county to do things, because we're going to get a blowback from the county saying, what are you talking to county residents about when you have a city program? I don't think either the city council or the county commission is necessarily going to be happy about
And there's
that.
no possibility of the city and the county getting together and doing it as a weekend.
May I interject something?
Sure.
I am on a board, the CHIP board, Community Health Improvement Plan, and I had told them about our Beautification Day, and they were interested in
Right.
the future, trying to do something, like if it could be a county-wide thing,
Great.
just to
Oh,
let
that's
you know.
good. Yeah.
Super.
Just to let you know.
Because there is no tree commission in the county. There is no beautification commission in the county. So it's difficult to coordinate, to say the least. The other thing to be aware of is that utility bills are not sent out on the same day. Utility bills are staggered, and I think they're staggered primarily either by address or they're staggered by alphabetical name. So it's difficult to try and send something out 2 weeks before.
Now, when we're talking
For
about
those
utility
reasons.
bills, we're talking about what?
The city electric?
City, Vero
Yeah.
Beach Electric,
Yeah.
not well, okay.
Yeah, the city
Because
electric.
I have Florida Power and Light. I don't have the city electric.
That's because you don't live in the city.
Right.
Or you're not within the city franchise zone.
Well, that could be.
Well, both are true.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you live in the city of Vero Beach city limits,
have-
you are going to have
Vero Beach.
city of Vero Beach.
Okay.
But city of Vero Beach franchise area, as I say, 60% of the utility customers actually live outside the city limits. That's why they're unhappy about their rates, but that's another subject.
I just thought about that too. If we put a flyer in there and we said, for city residents only, that kind of would rub salt and I just thought
And
about
I think
the
it's going to be
county
difficult for the
ones.
consumer. I mean, even no matter how we advertise this,
Right.
it's going to be difficult
Yeah.
for the consumer
To make the distinction.
exactly. Am I in
Right.
the city? Am I in the county?
Right.
Am I clean?
A lot of people say, I live in Vero Beach.
I live in
My
Vero Beach.
address is Vero Beach.
Right,
I'm
that's
going to
true.
do the beautification, and just as Carl mentioned before, be upset that no one picked anything up.
Yeah, that is true.
So that I think that clearly can happen.
Yeah.
People aren't going to pay
But,
attention.
you know, there really are a lot of free, either that or low-cost items that do reach a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if the news release and the press release and the interviews are very specific that this is a City of Vero Beach tree commission or tree and beautification commission project, then I think, you know, there's no question, just as was stated, because people's address is Vero Beach, their mailing address, they think they live in the city. They don't. They live that, or they can live
Right.
way outside. So,
And the city.
But then
does-
if we're using general, and I think that's basically one of the things you're saying, if we're using general sources for advertising, then we've got to be very, very specific in those sources.
Absolutely.
And I think
Right.
that if we are, forgive me, being legally compliant now, we've got to say, oh, by the way, if you don't live within the city limits, nobody's going to pick it up, or something to
yeah,
that.
and
to that
I
effect.
think that's very clear. People know pretty much whether a city truck comes and picks up their trash or whether a private trash hauler does it.
They
The
probably
city only picks up within the city limits.
They
so that's
probably
pretty
know,
clear.
Carl, but the problem is knowing and understanding are two different things. When
I
somebody
agree.
reads something, they interpret it the way they want to interpret
But
it.
even if we get the word out, there's nothing wrong with people in the county to clean up their yards
Yeah,
too.
of course
And
not.
as long as everything,
Right, well-
as long as everything that we make available is very clearly identified as City of Vero
Right.
Beach, then we've
Then
always
we've covered our-
we've got a callback,
Yes.
a fallback
Yeah,
position.
you need
Well,
to
no,
see why
I
they-
agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that would not be encouraging the county people to do something, but it certainly isn't discouraging.
Maybe it'll give them an idea and they do it anyway. And that's fine.
Right. Well, maybe down the line we could tie together next year or something. There's a couple of Facebook pages too for the old city residents. That kind of was my idea to put it on there. I mean, that's free, and those people have been here for a
Well,
while.
I'm not sure what
You know
are
what? I
talking
can't.
about?
Facebook. There's some pages on there about histories of Vero Beach,
Oh,
and a lot
are
of
they,
those
are
are
they
man.
neighborhood pages? Maybe
Yeah.
because I think Chris was relating to.
Well,
that
they're
a
not
little bit.
homeowner association pages,
No.
but they're just like I can't think of
Old
two.
Town or
Yeah,
something
that
like
kind
that.
of idea.
Yeah, I
I
guess.
think as long as we don't represent ourselves as being the city
Well, I don't think
official,
we can put anything on there.
Yeah.
We've got to talk to whoever
I
controls
suppose that makes
those pages and ask them to put them on. And I think if you look at Chris's list or the notes that Rita took of our last meeting, there is some reference to that because he talks about the fact they are neighborhood pages or neighborhood associations and they have like Old Town. That's just.
I know
a group.
McGanch Park has one
Yeah.
too.
And those are things that are doable. It takes some searching out because you got to find out who the person is who's responsible, so that we can find out who our contact point is.
So what is the protocol for doing any of this advertisement?
Well,
we've always just done a press release when we've
Yeah.
tried to contact media
Okay.
in the past and,
yeah.
and distribute
And
it to the
as I say, if you talk to each of the print editions, and if you talk to and make contact with the online editions of those newsletters, papers, whatever you want to call them, they're looking for news. So they'll put something in. Now, the question is, how big will it be? Because how much newsworthiness does it have? That's
When you say you or we, are you talking about the commission as a whole or individual members of the commission
Oh, no.
or the chair?
no, I'm talking about individual members.
So
of the commission.
individual members of the commission could approach someone
Well,
to do something?
yeah.
I mean,
here's kind of how I envisioned it.
Okay.
We would work today to try and come up with a list of items. And then maybe at the next meeting, we would all have that as a part of the minutes, and we would take a look at where we felt we'd want to volunteer to assume responsibility for those items as individuals.
I was going beyond that to the actual protocol here, the city protocol, in terms of doing a press release. If a press release is done, for example, by the city for the commission,
we can do our
or
own.
you do it.
We've always done our own press
Okay,
release.
but then wouldn't you as chair be the
Well, sometimes
lead man?
if it's a written press release, generally whoever writes it, Rita will run it past me before it goes out.
Fine,
But
okay.
it goes out as from Rita's office. Really, she's the one who sends
right?
it out.
Okay,
The
and
city
forgive
clerk.
me for having to ask
that's
these
fine.
questions. It's
Yeah.
just that this
We
is the
haven't-
first time on this commission I've been exposed to something like
understand.
this, and I
Not a
didn't know
problem
the
at all.
answers.
Not
Tried
a
to
problem.
do some research, couldn't find anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But as I say, you guys have seen the Cultural Council ad in the Press Journal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in there every week.
Yeah, it is.
And it's anywhere from a half to a full page, depending on what's happening. Plus, they have a calendar that they maintain. And if we can get it now, we're starting early enough. They generally do it by year. And the PJ is the same thing on their happenings. And they will do an advance notice for you. And then they will do it the day of the
Sure.
activity. So you get a couple of listings. I can have my wife set something up for community happenings on the 5 radio stations, and we can do an interview and talk about it. And we can probably get at least 2. We can get one early, and then we can get one the week before, something like that. And the same thing is true with the local television station. I know that I can tell her that I'm going to take her on another trip if she doesn't agree, because she's tired of traveling right now. So you have to, the carrot.
and the stick.
Yeah.
You're more carrot. I'm more stick.
Well, the stick works both ways, so you have to be careful. Anyway, that's what I hoped we could accomplish today, is to just add more items. Chris tried to go through and kind of summarize. I think he's got some things, but there are other things that, we need more detail than his list. His list is the last page of the.
And so he has Beauty and the Beach Radio. There's other radio shows too. I think Willie Miller does one, the Cultural Connection one. There's a couple of different radio shows.
See, there's some that are station controlled, and then there are people who buy time from the radio station, and that's their show. And so they talk about what they want to talk about, and they try to go out and get advertisers to help pay the cost of what it costs them to buy the time from the radio station. The ones that I'd be specifically interested in trying to get to are the ones that, one, are free, that are controlled by the station, who are specifically interested. As I say, Marcia's show plays on their 5 radio stations, okay? And it's different times of the day. So we get coverage there. Now, if we can get somebody like, if Dan wants to go on Rhett Palmer's show and talk about it with Rhett, that's fine. And if we can come up, and if we could, let's add Rhett Palmer's show, because we might be able to do that. Now, on the others, I don't know. I've never talked with them, so I've never tried to get on their shows.
Yeah, I do. I know a couple of ones that do the shows that we might
Great.
be able to get
if
on.
you can come up with the names, let's put them on the list specifically, not just individual radio shows, but so-and-so's show, so we know which one we're talking about, okay? And then come time, you can volunteer to do
I
the
will.
follow-up on those.
I will.
And,
That's
we
like I
can,
said
we
about
can
the
put
Facebooks, too.
a list of talking points together that we can all feel comfortable with. And that's if any one of us then, like you said, you have some contacts, great. Then you can be on the show and you can go over your list, and that gives you the items that we hopefully have covered. So those are all good ideas.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Carl?
sure.
I just want to get my little turn, my 2 cents in. I have a list, and I'll give them to Rita, and she can include them in the minutes.
Why don't you read them so we're
Yeah,
aware?
I am going to read them.
Good.
I'm going to get into that, right. And they're all things that you've talked about already, but I just want to go over them again and say that I think some of this has merit. I think some kind of communication or signage with supermarkets like Publix and Walmart should be considered, because everybody goes there. And I know it can be a problem, and there's some issues, some logistical issues, but we're only talking about 4 or 5 places maybe, so it's not too cumbersome.
How would, let me just ask so I understand. You mentioned Walmart. How would Walmart disseminate that information?
Well, they would just have a sign, some signage at their entranceway announcing this
Like
is
a
coming
bulletin
up.
board or
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
I have it, Publix.
Have you?
Publix, yeah, they
Or-
have posters right where you
or the post
come
office
in.
or something like that.
But yeah,
The library does,
Publix
too. I
has
was
a
thinking the
community.
library.
It's like a community bulletin.
well,
Yeah.
no, this is just like stuck on the glass when you walk in there.
Okay.
I've seen
Yeah.
advertisements for 5K runs or
Sure.
whatever. I mean, and I don't know. It may be that Publix is a sponsor of those, and that's why those posters are up there. I never
Could
really
well
paid
be,
that much attention.
yeah.
So
Well,
I mean, if they're not sponsoring, they may say, "Well, I don't want," but
Yeah.
it's certainly worth. Like you say,
Well-
everybody goes to
Right.
one of those.
As long as we made sure we were dealing with stores located within the city limits. Otherwise,
Oh, sure.
we're getting into that county aspect.
Well-
Yeah, and of course Walmart wouldn't be.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I brought up the topic, so I'm going to investigate that.
Great. That's
Report back
wonderful.
next
Great.
meeting. As to what problems there may be with having them put up signage of some
Yeah,
kind.
if they would allow us to.
And the
They
fresh
will.
and the fresh market as well over in Miracle Mile.
Right.
Coffee
Okay.
places.
The
Okay.
library does it too, right in the lobby.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no problem with the public places, like libraries. I would imagine there's no problem there. But I'll find out about Publix and Walmart, and I'll get back and report back on that. I think the utility bill thing has some problems. I understand that, but you can always put in heavy type. This only applies to city limits, just in case there's any possibility of confusion. But I think we ought to still look at that and think about that some more. Information on the newspaper, of course, and ads in the newspaper, I think are critically important. Have we thought much about, I know we have thought about it, do we think it's a good idea to contact the garden clubs and the master gardeners about this?
I think that is very good, because those people have some allied interests with us. And I think they are on the list that we had
On the
talked
list.
about from
Yeah,
last
yeah, I know,
meeting.
I was mentioned, I recall somebody mentioning that.
Yeah, I think Chris did.
Chris did. And so and maybe they have some expertise in communicating to the public too that we're not exactly aware of, and they can help us there. One other thing occurred to me, which is kind of maybe not at all what you want to do, but this is just for the sake of discussion. We have a downtown Vero Beach sign, right, off at 60th Street, near St. Helens Church, that area.
Oh, you mean
On State Route 60, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Do we have any ability to do anything to that sign at all, or is that somebody else's responsibility? Can the city of Vero Beach go and enhance that at all?
It's our sign.
It's our sign.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could put in some shrubs or trees or repaint the sign, or we could do something, could we?
Yeah, but I just re-landscaped that not too long ago.
You did. Okay, well, it looks good.
But yes, that's our bed to maintain. Yeah.
Is that the only thing we have introducing Vero Beach to citizens as they come by?
Well, there are other road signs, but that's the main.
That's the main
That's
one.
the only concrete big kind of sign that says Vero
Okay.
Beach on it.
And
Yes.
remember, Chris's suggestion, and I think it's a good one, and the city manager said, not a problem, we can get that done, and that's hanging a banner across 14th
Ave, right.
Yeah, and that's great, because that gets a lot of traffic from Vero Beach people. Now, some other people see it too, but as long as it says City of Vero Beach Beautification Weekend, that's
We could
pretty
probably
clear.
put something down to
What I
the
was-
beachside as well, some sort of flyer too. It's
Possibly.
Not, it's not,
We can,
more narrow.
I'm sure we can get the Beach Business Bureau, let's put that one down too, please, dear. The Beach Business Bureau to send out notices to their business members, and all those are, again, located within the city, so we're all set.
You mean like the Oceanside
yeah,
business?
the
Uh-huh.
Oceanside business.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's all. That's good. That's what I was trying to reach for, and I didn't know
That's
where to
true,
go.
isn't it?
I want the citizens, if possible, to see the city doing something during that weekend to beautify the city as a leader, and encouraging the citizens to join with us.
I understand what you're saying, but we don't work on the weekends. The landscape guys, they're off, so it would be everybody working.
It would have to be
on
something
overtime.
before the weekend that we could do before the weekend.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said before, honestly, every time we leave the shop, that's what we're doing. We're beautifying.
And-
So
and-
and
The
I
list
could-
contains the 20th Avenue project as maybe something to focus on, a recent city project. the
Yeah, that's what
planting.
I was talking
right, but you're not talking about necessarily doing more planting out there.
No, just to say that
That this is
we have
a
just
recent thing.
right.
And I've got stuff on my plate. I mean, every winter when we can back off on maintenance a little bit, I have a landscaping project, because there's always something that you can revamp or redo or needs a little bit of TLC. So certainly I have a list of stuff that we can do in that time frame. February is perfect for that. So I've already written out I've got a couple beds at Young Park that I need to
Okay.
do, and I've got a couple of beds over at Charles Park I need to do. So absolutely, whether or not somebody's going to come out and see us doing it is another thing.
But
I just-
that could be included in the news release.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Point
what
out the cities involved.
I think that's probably in my clumsy way. What I'm trying to do, communicate, is if citizens see that we have done something, then
Right,
it kind of
that's what I
encourages
said
them to
about
join in and so forth.
Now, can I back off to what you were saying? That's a good idea, where the people drive in at 20th Avenue and say, "Welcome to the city of Vero Beach." Is there any way we could do a sign, a poster sign, and put it there just for that weekend for the beautification, or is that too tacky? Or
It would kind of go along with what we're talking about the 14th Avenue, I would think.
I don't know,
some sort of flag.
we'd have to ask city administration
Or a
Whether-
planner.
Just to have it up for the weekend.
yeah,
A planner.
you're the planner.
yeah.
We have special event sign permits. They're $10. They can go out from Thursday to Sunday.
And those are the real estate
Those
signs.
are the real estate signs. You're allowed to have up to 20.
Or any business advertising a sale. Those are
Special
still
event,
out there.
A special
Yeah.
event
Special
sign.
Yeah.
That's a special event.
Yeah,
But they're usually those typical real estate
But-
signs.
but
That's
Yeah.
a great way for advertising.
Yeah.
Because it's immediate.
Well, that's what
it's that
you do when
weekend,
there's art
it's
shows. That's what they
Right,
do. and
that's
they-
what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I
a
think.
reminder
Yeah.
that it is
People
this
driving
weekend.
around, they'll see it.
yeah. And we can get those out, as was mentioned, early enough so that people are aware of it.
They can
that
go out
it's
on
coming
Thursday.
up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, that's an expenditure because those have to be made.
Made and
Printed.
sure.
Yeah, and so we'd have to get an estimate based on the number of signs, and then the city would probably charge us for the permits too. Am I right?
Probably would, yes.
Well, we
have some
figure out
money,
the
don't we?
cost of all these. All
That's
Perhaps
right.
double.
Yeah, and you got to get approval ahead of
We
time.
can do it.
We have a couple of bucks.
Well, no,
But we have to figure
Just
out
because
what
we
we've
have
got.
money doesn't mean we get to do it. We make a request to city
No,
council,
I know.
and
Carl,
they say yes
they're
or
gonna
no.
love
Have you
No,
I
ever,
understand.
ever had somebody say no to a
Yes.
request? You did?
Yes,
Oh, it wasn't one of my
Well, it was
ideas.
pre-me.
yes, it was. Pre you.
Well, maybe that person isn't around anymore, so let's not worry about it.
Other
I'm
avenues
sure you'll
I
get
thought
whatever you
about
want.
for
Right, exactly.
awareness might be the Sunset Saturday concert they do once a week or once a month, and there's
Or
also
the
the
Friday
downtown
one.
Friday. Those
Yeah.
are other things we can advertise
Good thought.
months in advance.
Yeah, great.
Right, that's
That's
a good
good.
one.
Then the
That's a good
schools too.
idea.
A lot of the schools within the city limits, the elementary, I guess the high school,
Sure.
put out. They all have calendars. The kids can go home, tell their parents about it.
Well,
I mean,
the
if
kids
can
go
remember
home
that.
with
Here's a flyer
folders.
idea, yeah.
And that's
Right.
one of
Yeah.
that was one of my thoughts with a flyer. The kids go home with folders. So if the schools would hand out our flyers to put in their folders,
But again, you got to be very specific because kids are bust. Just because the elementary school is located in the city doesn't mean those children live in the
I
city.
understand that. But the point of it is the whole idea is with any advertising that we do, we will be very specific. So a flyer would be very specific.
Would have to be,
But
yeah.
again, this is a way of a generally more communication, as long as it's very specific. And to pick up on the statement you just made, you said we go out and do it every day. Wouldn't that be our theme? The city goes out and does it every day.
Right.
Why don't you think about doing it this weekend?
Yeah, that's a good.
It's got to be perfected, but but I mean, in following up with the commentary, if we are going to tell the people they should do it, you're absolutely right. We should also be showing them what we do, and maybe people take, and I believe I made this statement in the August meeting, people walk through this city and see how well you do your job, and they just take it for granted. So every once in a while, you kind of have to say, pay
Right.
attention. This doesn't
Right.
just happen. There is no beautification genie.
Right.
Right.
You know,
It's
we
not-
we don't rub. You know, you can maybe do it at 3:20 in the morning psychically, but that's really not how it's done.
That would be neat.
Yeah, it would be great.
Yeah.
So I think that at least one of the things we should be thinking about is a theme.
Right. Because, in addition, you can do something one weekend, and the whole term of maintenance is an ongoing thing. Doing it once is great, but you kind of have to continue to do it. So
Right.
it is that ongoing, putting that effort in every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. So
It doesn't take long for it to
it
start
doesn't.
looking shoddy.
Not when you have every day of rain,
Right.
especially.
Yeah.
All right.
And
At
you have
4:30.
people and you have people who leave junk around
Right.
and trash, and you have people who trash through beds and tear stuff up.
Never.
I know.
There's nobody ever driving through any of the landscape
No,
beds.
No.
That one at 20th Avenue has been driven through 3 times.
Really?
I've lost half my palm, the shrub. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not an accident? You just drove through it?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah. It's amazing how many
Yeah.
plants get driven over. Yeah.
For sure.
But that's public landscaping.
But again, all these things are great, and we put together a master list and then try and assume some responsibility based on where your interests are, and set up some kind of a timetable on when our I don't know. Do you feel comfortable with doing the preliminary announcement maybe the middle of November or something like that?
I think that would
Because
be appropriate.
the people who are going to be down for November are going to be here.
Yeah.
And again, they're going to be both inside and outside the city, but we're going to be specific about what the program is.
Well, I think you need to catch some of them because some of the snowbirds come down. Forgive me, snowbirds. So many of you are my friends. But some of the folks come down, and then they go back for the holidays.
Thanksgiving, right.
So it might be a really good idea to get it out in the early part of November while we know they're still here, they haven't gone back for the holidays, and then we can do another one in January. We can do another one in December, but we can do another one in January, and we still have time because it's the 14th, 15th to do still another one in February
Yeah.
because after a while people are going to say, oh, I'm going to do this because they're driving me crazy.
And when we're thinking about a theme, one of the things that I think is mentioned in some of Chris's notes, excuse me, and it's well taken, is it is Valentine's weekend.
Yes, yes.
So maybe there's a way we can tie the two together somehow,
Yeah.
because the Valentine holiday is something that everybody is aware of, the weekend. And
Love your yard.
Hey,
There you go.
that's true. We love the city. Love your yard.
yeah, and
Of course, it's not only, I know that you haven't restricted it to only yard. You might be
Exactly.
painting your house. Or,
Right.
very, very correct.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Very good.
But again, be thinking about something that we can try and tie that together with,
Okay.
because that focuses, because people know what Valentine's Day is, because if they forget it, they're in deep trouble with somebody.
A wonderful evaluation for all of Valentine's.
So if we can tie those together, why it then becomes a benchmark in the calendar for them too.
Sure.
So that's another positive.
Right.
May I make one other suggestion?
Surely.
If it is possible, could we get the minutes, because there's so much jam-packed now into these minutes for the next meeting, could we get them earlier? Is it
They
possible?
are on the website as well, but I can send them out after they're confirmed. and
Just
when they
simply
go to be
because we
posted.
Yeah,
would then
'cause actually we could-
immediately have a palette to start working
Yeah, Rita,
on.
we could possibly send those out before the agenda is finalized.
Right.
Just so that any last minute things are still on the agenda, because that way, as was noted, it gives everybody an opportunity to refresh their minds about what was discussed.
Yeah, when the minutes are finished, they're given to Holt. He posts them out on the website right away, so it's usually a few days after the meeting. But I will, at that point,
All you
send them
need
to
to do is give us the
Or
website.
just send them out to you guys as well.
Yeah. However, either that or connect to the website and find them, you know. Okay.
All right.
Do you have any ideas? Any suggestions?
No, I think that you guys have a really good start.
I'm sure there are things we haven't thought about. So, and
I'll
there's
keep-
nothing
I'll-
wrong.
I'll
There's
flesh out
nothing
my-
wrong with adding
Right.
some the next meeting.
Sure,
so.
and I'll flesh out my list because I have a couple of. I keep my list right here of things to do in the fall and winter. You know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of large right now, but we can. There's plenty that we can do.
Of course, by
Right.
the next meeting, there'll be time to get out that release, that information.
Yeah, we'll be in November.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's fine. That doesn't take a long time to accomplish.
I just have one question.
I think our meeting is the 20th. So, you know, as long as we get something out before the end of the month,
Do you?
we're in good shape.
Just one suggestion. Do you want to put somebody now in charge of writing something up so that
I
you
thought
can?
Chris said
Yeah,
he
I
was
thought he
going
said he was
to
going.
Oh, okay.
assume responsibility
I gotcha.
for
He's,
that.
in fact, it's in here, isn't it?
I wasn't here last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody said something about a newsletter. Did this commission have a newsletter?
No, utilities did.
So, yeah,
Utility,
so-
okay.
Yeah. And we occasionally, when we used to have seedling sales, we'd put something about the seedling sale in the newsletter. Had it included, so people were told about it. That predates everybody here but me. I think it may be time to recycle me too. That's another subject.
I guess I'm wondering about the lady from the magazine portfolio.
Oh, Penny?
Yeah.
She was invited today. And
Yes,
was going
I
to
saw
attend,
that.
So I don't know what happened.
Oh,
Because it appears from the email that she gave you, is this
It's in the
what
current
goes,
publication.
is this what goes here?
That was like, I think, a
I
front of
understand.
her magazine picture that didn't show up when
Okay,
I
okay.
printed.
Because she, according to the email, she would love to publicize this. So I think that in light of the caution that we have to make sure prevails in any advertisement, we should alert her to that as well.
Well, she's the one that originally brought the idea.
I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the limitation of the city, to the city. Does she know that?
I'm not sure if she does, but she certainly has it on the ad here, save the date, the city of Vero Beach Beautification. So it is specifically stated.
Right.
Vero Beach.
I see that, but again, the question is,
Yeah, because she has to go out for outside printing and then distribution. So I'm sure she has a lead time, and we don't really know what her lead time is.
right. Okay. So,
Rita, you've been contacting with her. Could you just kind of check on that for us? And it's a direct follow-up, the fact that you had been having correspondence with her and she didn't show up today, so it's kind of a natural that we discussed it and we wondered what her time frame was. That way we'll know for the next meeting. I mean, it may not get in for November, but that's fine. We can't have everything in 3 months ahead of time.
And Carl, the banner, that has to be made.
Yes,
correct?
that's
So you
right.
need to,
Yeah.
I don't know how long that takes.
Yeah, but how long do you want to leave that up? How long will it stay up, and look good with the weather?
Well, I don't think you want to leave it up more than maybe
I'd say a week.
I was going to say
That's
a week.
That's what I thought. So we
Just like when they do for
we got
Hibiscus
plenty of time
Festival.
between now and February to get that done.
unless we're going to do a couple of banners.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't know what time, you only meet once a month, so
Yeah.
figure out what you want to say on it and find out who,
whole
what
logo,
vendor you're going to
everything.
use. And,
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
fine.
the city
We
of
have
Vero
plenty of
Beach.
I mean, you can have it made and
Yeah,
put
pretty
it
quickly.
somewhere and it's
Pretty
done.
easy. City of Vero Beach treated beautification, whatever day and the dates, and that's
Yeah.
really all you need. I think. I can imagine.
Yeah,
Do we need some artwork?
or
for that
something
one?
that says "looking for your involvement" or
Yeah, I mean,
you
or
know,
participate
look for
Some
more
artwork.
information. Or-
We
Love
need the
a tree.
logo, so we'll have to
It's
decide
The
on the
logo
logo.
is the city of Vero Beach seal. That's the logo.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh.
It's a city. Yeah. Right behind you.
She specified in the ad that the next publication is the January, February issue, where she could list the details.
But she didn't tell us how far
When she
in
needs it.
advance
advance.
she needs that information. That's what I'm,
Correct.
yeah,
Okay.
if you could get that, Rita. Then we'd know what deadline we're working towards as far as getting her any information. And, maybe she'd do an interview or something like that to put something in that's more personalized and just, I don't know. Just a question.
I'm just back to the banner, just because I'm, you plan, because you have to come to the council and ask for that money. So you decide, and then you got to wait a month, and then you got to wait, before you know it, it's going to be February.
Yeah.
So if you figure out what you want to say, go to a vendor, or two or three, get costs, and then you can make that request. And who knows, it may take 2-3 weeks to get a banner made. I don't know. I've
Yeah,
never
but
had one.
if we address, if that's one of the items that we have to finalize for the November meeting, then we're set. If we can get some ideas about what ought to be on it, then it's a simple matter. I'm sure the city's had banners made, and if the city has, if not the city, then
It's usually, I think, outside people, like the Downtown Association
yeah.
with
Well,
that one for
the
Hibiscus.
sign makers. I mean, it only takes a couple of phone calls.
Yeah,
I'll-
sure.
I'll be glad to follow up on that.
In this
Either that, or I could delegate it to someone.
in this email, what date is she talking about, Rita, for publication on this save the date?
The one that she just put there, I think she just included that in her recent publication.
Okay. And that's in November, December?
I thought it was January, February.
The
wouldn't it?
next one. where she
No,
gives
the save the
details.
date.
Oh.
She's
Oh, she's
shown-
including
she's
that.
shown
It's in the current
Rita
one.
what she
Oh,
wants to put
okay.
in the November, December,
Yes.
and it's a save the date.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And so that's okay, because this is what she wants to say.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. What it is that's the banyan tree she's talking about.
No, I
Yeah.
understand that. I was
But the
talking.
page in front of it has the same thing. Yeah.
But I was just talking about the
Yeah.
language to make sure that you were
It's
satisfied
just a
with.
teaser, and,
Right.
that's fine.
Just as long as you're
Yeah.
satisfied with the
No.
language, that's all.
I think that's great. I don't even know what kind of distribution the portfolio has, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Well, that's an interesting. If you do talk to her, ask her what the distribution is, because I don't remember getting one, but maybe I did.
Well, I think it's a fairly big magazine.
Yeah, but see, I don't live in the city, so if it's city,
I live in the city and I don't get it. I don't know that it's.
I don't think it's.
Publication
I don't think
distributed.
it's
Well,
just.
see, that's-
I would
Maybe
think you'd
just
have to
hand it
subscribe
out.
to it, don't you?
I don't know. I don't think
I don't
so.
know. Yeah.
well, but
so.
see, we ought to know that. Yeah. So Rita's going to get that information for us, so that we have a better
That
understanding.
it's not going to
And if-
Mott Street in New York.
if you're doing any contacts, like with the radio station people, just verify that they're doing this as a service to the tree commission, not that they expect ad revenue as a result of this.
Well, they need people to interview anyway, and they need
But that's fine.
issues.
But all I'm saying is, I can tell you with some of the people, after you're on, the first thing you hear is, gee, how come we haven't had an ad from you folks? So, and I'm not talking about necessarily the people you're dealing with, but I know that does happen.
Okay.
Because one of the groups I am involved in had that happen after we had an interview for the group. They then said, gee, we haven't had any ads from you. Wouldn't you like to spend some money with us? So just be careful of that. That's all. Just be aware. They are for-profit operations. Okay, any other suggestions? Because that's really our primary function today. The press release, that's really not a problem. And if we can, in the press release, well, got to be careful there. I was going to say we could include where more defined information is going to be, but some publications don't like to mention the name of other publications. So,
Why wouldn't we just use her?
well, yeah, but we want more than that. We want everything we can.
Well, I understand that, but the initial press release, why wouldn't that just be a teaser as well? Save the date.
Yeah. Well, I think you want more explanation because they aren't going to consider that newsworthy enough.
They're going to want at least a paragraph. Or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
That's
They
what we've
they
done in the past.
they want something that big.
Okay.
Otherwise, please buy an ad, and we'll be glad to put that
Yeah.
in. And we want to try and stay away from that because it really complicates the issue as far as getting council approval. So,
Sure.
yes, ma'am.
I have another meeting.
You have another meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you have anything else for me?
Are there any other items or issues relative to that item? If not, we'll move into new business. I don't have any new business unless somebody else does. Treasurer's report. I'm sure we don't have any extra money. And
They're closing out the books.
closing out the books. There you go. In fact, we should have less because your billing for 20th should have been paid.
I'm sure it did, and we got our reimbursement back from the state for our grant.
Good.
So
Good.
it went very smooth.
All right. I have nothing under chairman's matters. Anybody have anything under members' matters? Not trying to stilt you if you have it. Speak
Me?
up. Anyone? No, I was just looking that way. Am I impacting you this morning?
Actually, no.
Good. Okay. So our next meeting is November 20th, and we know what we're going to try and accomplish, and we want to encourage everybody to try and attend during these next few meetings till we can get this thing settled out and finalized, right?
Please send.
We know
email
you're
me
gonna be
any of
there.
your list of suggestions and ideas so that I can attach them to the minutes.
Great. That's wonderful. So if there is nothing else, the Chair would entertain an adjournment motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion and a second. We're adjourned. Thank you.